Hey guys, today we're going to be talking about inequalities. That is SOL A.5. And just like yesterday, I am going to have Desmos graphing calculator up because it's definitely going to be helpful. We talked about how to find things with equations, so we're going to talk about how to find them with inequalities. First thing I have to talk about is something called set builder notation. That's a way of expressing your answers. So over here on the side, it says, here is what set builder notation is. It basically looks like X. It says the X with the line, and then your inequality solution. It's always surrounded by those brackets. The way it would be read is for all X such that X is less than or equal to 32. It's just a fancy and formalized way of writing your solutions. It is very possible that the SOL is going to use those, so we keep that in mind. All right, so when you have these questions, you're going to solve them just like we did the other day with equations. My little personal tip to you, I draw those two lines to keep the equation safe. I'm going to, instead of adding 5, I'm going to subtract 5 from both sides, and I get negative 5x is greater than 20. I'm going to divide both sides by a negative 5, and that's going to flip my inequality symbol, and that's going to become x is less than negative 4. So that would be letter choice B. For problems like number 2, you could even do it for number 1. We can actually plug it into Desmos, and Desmos is going to solve it for us. Watch this magic. So it's 2x minus 18. We're going to go ahead and use the inequality symbol. You can see them there right next to the 4 and the 1. We're going to use that symbol. 5 is 5x plus 3. All right, so you're going to notice that a line appears and it's shaded. So that line, it shows us is at negative 11. X is negative 11. So we're going to cross out those two that are at 1. And it is shaded towards the smaller numbers. It's shaded towards the little numbers. So we're going to use x is less than negative 11. Okay? You can see that shading goes towards those smaller numbers. So that's how I figure out the sign. Desmos is going to solve it for you. It's going to even show you the shading and the graphing. If you notice, it has this solid line. The reason it has that solid line is because this is an or equal to problem. If I were to change this to just a less than, you'll see it shows a dotted line. That's kind of like your open circle of your inequalities. All right, so Joel sells ice cream cones. Don't forget, we're always going to clear our calculators in between problems. Joel sells ice cream cones at the county fair. He has to rent the equipment for $36 and spend 52 cents on ingredients for each cone. What is the minimum number of ice cream cones Joel must sell at $1.40 each in order to make a profit? All right, so if he's selling the cones for $1.40, we want the price to be less than or equal to $1.40. That's our goal. We want to spend less than $1.40. It actually wouldn't be equal to, because then he wouldn't be making a profit. We're just going to use less than. So then we've got $36. He has to spend $36 plus 0.52 per cone. So that's going to be our X. So when we plug that in, 36 plus 0.52 is going to be less than $1.40. Oops, I forgot the X. No wonder it didn't show up. So that means we can see he needs to sell 66. Oops, where did I put it in wrong here? Wouldn't be. We see that he needs to sell 66 cones in order to make a profit. I don't think the correct answer is here. I think I've made a boo-boo here. But that would be 66 cones. All right, we clear our calculator and we're going to go on to question 4. I'm going to type it in at negative 8 is times 3x. Now, I am going to use x because otherwise Desmos graphing calculator is not going to show you the answer. So you definitely want to switch your variable to x. Minus 2 is greater than or equal to, we're going to get out of those parentheses, greater than or equal to negative 200. All right, so I see that that graph is a solid line, so I'm looking for a closed dot, so that means I'm going to go ahead and get rid of letter choice D. Then I'm going to go ahead, and look for what is smaller than negative 9, or than positive 9. Letter A, that's graphed towards the bigger numbers. That's not going to cut it. Letter B, that's at 9 and it's graphed towards the little numbers. We like that. C is at 9 but graphed towards the big numbers, so it would be letter choice B. Let's look at number 5. This is like that justifying properties that we talked about last time. Remember, we talked about the of inequality properties being the, for instance, C says the addition property of inequality. It's just like the addition property of equality. We look to see that we added something to both sides of an inequality, and that's going to keep the inequality equal. All right, so what property justifies the work between steps 3 and 4? So what you'll notice is they added 0 to both sides. If you're adding a number that doesn't change it, like 0, that's what we call the identity property, because you're adding something and keeping the number the same. All right, so let's talk about this next inequality. I'm going to clear my calculator and plug that into Desmos. Again, we got to change those G's to an X. 6x is greater than or equal to -2 times x. Remember to change all of them, otherwise it's not going to work. Plus 3. All right, so we've got it graphed at 5. It is greater than 5, so that would be letter choice C. In case you're wondering when it might be all real solutions or no solutions, you can see that empty set there. The graph is not going to show if it's all real or no solution. So that's when you're going to solve it. Remember, all real solutions, that's if you get a true statement. So for instance, 12 is greater than 10. That's a true statement, so that would mean it's all real. No solution is if you get a false statement. So that's if you get something like 12 is less than 10. That is not a true statement, so that would not be a solution. Once we start graphing inequalities, that's inequalities with two variables. We can type it in just the way they give it to us. -2/5 x plus y is less than -2. We can look at that one. We see that dotted line. That means it is not equal to. All of those graphs, those sample graphs, are not equal to. We're looking for it to be shaded below, so we can get rid of B and we can get rid of C. And line D, that one's definitely a lot sharper than the one we see on the graph, so it would have to be letter choice A. All right, this is a system of inequalities here, and I wanted to talk about shading because that's basically what this question talks about. So a salesman at a new car dealership gets paid a fixed commission. You know, we're not going to read the whole question here because they actually already give us the equations there at the bottom. So I'm going to go ahead and plug these equations into Desmos. Again, you need to make them x and y. So 5x plus 5y is greater than 2,500. We go to the next line and we're going to type in the other one, 8x. Make sure you use the same variables in the same spots. Is less than 3,000. Now you're going to notice I need to zoom way out because these are big numbers, okay? So we see that this equation, this inequality, has some shading. So basically what they're saying is that bottom line, that purple line, that 8p plus 3s, or in that case x and y, that would be shaded below because it says that it is less than 300. However, the other graph, let me actually do it in a highlighter so we can still see what's going on under there. That would be shaded below. However, the other graph, the green graph, is saying that it is greater than p plus 5s. So that would be shaded this way. Now that's what we see on Desmos. You'll notice that there's a darker section there in between those two. And that darker section is right here. That darker section is your solution. While the light green and the light purple is the solution to either section, the true answer to the problem would be section B, that dark section that we highlighted here, okay? So if they were to ask, is section A, section B, or section C the solution, it would only be section B. All right, so which inequality is shown? I'm going to let you plug that one into Desmos and see which one would give you the right answer. We are going to go ahead and skip down, and we are going to look at, we'll skip to this guy. We're going to go to question 14. So they want us to select all of the points that are not part of the solution, not part of the solution. So looking at negative 4, 1, we're going to go to negative 4 up to positive 1. There's that dot. You'll notice that dot is in the solution because it's in the shaded region. So that one we're going to cross off as it is in the solution. Then we're going to go to 4, 1, 4, 1, 4, and 1. Notice how it's on a dotted line. Because it's on a dotted line, it is not part of the solution. It's on a solid line too, but that dotted line means that is not part of the solution. We're going to go over to 2, 1, and you'll see we are in that butter zone, in that shaded area. So that is a solution, so we can cross it out. We'll go to 0, 3. That means nothing left or right, and down to negative 3. We are way outside of that shaded area, so that is not a solution. And last but certainly not least, negative 1, that is outside of, oh, excuse me. Actually, here's negative 1. That is inside the shaded area, so that one is not a solution. We only have two, or is a solution, so we only have 2 answers. All right, let's skip around again, and let's go ahead and talk about this problem. I know the box is a little hectic on mine. Let's talk about it on yours. So going from this problem, this step to this step, I noticed that they distributed that negative 3, so that would be our distributive property. When we go from this step to this step, I noticed that they combined their like terms. They combine those like terms. Whenever you combine your like terms, you're actually doing the addition. You're combining 2 things. That's going to be our substitution property. Substitution. And this would be of inequality because we are looking at an inequality. All right, next we're going to keep going here. And I see that they moved the 20x to the other side. They subtracted 20x's from both sides. Because we subtracted from both sides, that would be your substitution property of inequality. Next, we're going from here to here, and I see that they subtracted 24 from both sides again. That again is going to be that substitution property of inequality. To go from here to here, I notice they're dividing both sides by a negative. When you divide both sides by a negative and the problem stays the same, that would be your division property of inequality. And then last but not least, we're simplifying again, so that would be that substitution as our last step. From here to here would be the substitution property of inequality. Okay? All right. The question appears to have disappeared on that one, so we're going to go ahead and skip that. And let's talk about this last problem, number 19. So it gives us an inequality, so we're going to type it in. Y is less than negative 3/4 x minus 2. And there's our problem. We're going to look at these points and see if they're on the graph. Negative 2, 0. When I look at negative 2, 0, that guy is definitely not in the graph. He is outside, so we're going to cross him out. Negative 8 and down 1, that's going to go ahead and be in the solution. Negative 1 and negative 2 would be in the solution because it's in the shaded region. 8 and 3 would not be in the solution because that's way up in quadrant 1. Get rid of that one. Negative 3 and negative 1, that would be in the shaded region. 3 and negative 5. 3 and negative 5 is in the graph. Negative 9 and negative 9 and positive 4 would be inside the shaded region. And then negative 4, positive 4 would not be in the graph. That would be way too high up. Try those bottom ones, see if you can get them by yourself. If the point is on the line, like let's look at that 0, negative 2. If the point is on the line, because this is a shaded or is a dotted line, that means 0, negative 2 is not a solution because it is on the dotted line. If it's on the dotted line, it does not count. So it's only if it's in that shaded region or on a solid line. Go ahead and complete your checklist, and then you can get started on your homework.